Hello everyone and welcome to another Tutorial Thursday video. My name is Swiss and for this week we're going to be going over Snake's best stages. I have compiled a tier list. Now we'll go over everything together of course and go over what I think is Snake's strong stages and what are his weak stages and pretty much kick it from there, and we'll explain everything as well for each stage. Anyways, like and subscribe if you like the content, and let's go ahead and dive right in and let's get it. Into the tier list for Snake's best stages and worst stages, I do want to state a couple things. One thing, I don't really like making tier lists, so people are going to disagree, agree, etc. But please keep it to professionalism, and if you have a different opinion, that's perfectly fine. But these are my opinions based on what I've seen and how I feel as far as playing the stages goes. So without further ado, here we go. So first things first, I would say that, all in all, we can definitely say that PS2, or, if in some areas they have PS1, is more than likely one of Snake's strongest stages in the game. So, and that's really dependent on some people's opinions. Some people may believe that, may put Battlefield first over PS2. I think they're very, very equal. It's really all dependent, but for the most part, I would definitely say that PS2 is more than likely Snake's best stage. And it has good size, big blast zones, a lot of room for movement and getting away, camping, etc. And the platforms are a good height as well. Up tilt will connect if they're on the platform. Your C4 will normally connect if they're on a platform, as long as they're not a small enough character. But for the most part, though, PS2 is definitely Snake's strongest stages. Now PS1 is a little bit smaller than PS2 and the platforms are a little bit lower. But for those in your area, that have PS1, then same exact thing. I mean, it's still a really, really good Snake stage. After that, we're going to want to go into Battlefield. So Battlefield is definitely, again, some people would say it's his best stage. Some would say it's at least one of his best stages. And of course, it's definitely up here. You got platform coverage with C4. You have, it's not as big as PS2, but it's still big enough for movement, for gaining stage control. You can cover the stage very well with grenades and C4s. It definitely ties in together extremely, extremely well. So I feel this stage is definitely good. Now there are some matchups that might be a little bit harder for this stage, such as like Falco, Fox, anyone that can use that top platform to really get up to the top of the screen and hit Snake when he's recovering high. Now even though that may pose as a threat, people will still take those characters to Battlefield because it's still a good stage for Snake nonetheless. If anything, he doesn't necessarily have a losing matchup on the stage, so in the end, it's still a really strong Snake stage. After that, we have Smashville, and the reason why I didn't put Smashville up here, because I feel like it's definitely one of Snake's strongest stages, but I don't believe it's to the point where you can take someone to Smashville on every matchup and believe that, okay, hey, I have an advantage on this stage. And I say that because there are some characters that can actually do much better than Snake on this stage. Very commonly, Zero Suit Samus. Up B kills earlier, blast zones are a little bit closer, so Snake can die a little bit earlier on the sides. Like Roy, as an example, he can die to side B earlier on this stage. So again, this stage in specific, and stages after this, is going to be more than likely like kind of matchup based, and definitely keep that in mind. Like, this is just a general layout. This isn't for every single matchup, but I do have these stages on S tier because for the most part he doesn't necessarily lose on these stages for most of his matchups, or if not all of his matchups. If anything, at worst he'll go even. But that's why they're up here so high. But for the most part, just know that this isn't specifically tailored around all matchups. It's just kind of like a general layout or idea that you kind of want to focus on with Snake when it comes to stage selection in general. So again, Smashville is definitely a good stage for Snake. Big platform, great coverage for stage control, C4, grenades, up smash. You can up smash on the sides. For edge guarding, if you would like, you have enough room to do so. But overall, though, I think it's a very strong Snake stage. It's just that, he doesn't, it's not like 100% one of those stages where Snake just wins a lot of matchups, or because there are like some matchups that he'll probably lose. And again, Roy and Zirsu is a big one for me, and I'm sure there's some other characters as well. Moving on, next we have Unova. Now, I only put this here because it's only right to add some of these stages because they're still legal in some areas, and that's why you see Yoshi's here as well. Yoshi's Brawl, that is. So with Unova, I think Unova is a very strong Snake stage. It's dark, it's not well lit, so not being able to see C4 helps this stage a lot for Snake. It has the walls, of course, so it's kind of like Kalos, got the walls. The top blast zones kind of feels the same as like Battlefield or so. It's not like, it doesn't feel like it's super tall like Town and City, or super short like Yoshi's. It's kind of like in that middle. So I would say kind of similar to Battlefield in this sense. Now, you can't really edge guard very well if you're like an up smash guy. Up smash isn't really going to work too well in this stage for you. You gotta make sure you're using other tools, Nikita, C4, grenades. Another thing with Unova is that like off stage, there's not really a lot of room for movement off stage. So in this case being said, like it might be a little bit harder to land Nikita on this stage because the blast zones are pretty close together. So your opponent can get back to ledge pretty quickly before you can actually use a Nikita to its full extent. At least that's how I feel when I used to play on this stage when the game first came out. But it's been a very long time since I touched on the stage. But I will say that when I was playing this stage, I felt like it was a very strong Snake stage. So there's that. Now, you could even possibly put Lilat above that, but that's all opinion based. This is my opinion again, so again, don't flame me. All right, so after that, we're going to move into the B tier. Now, B tier, this is kind of the stages where Snake does do well in, but for the most part, there's also, again, matchups where he just is going to have a harder time playing in. And I think it's very important to put Lilat right in the middle. I personally believe that Lilat was a very strong Snake stage in this game up until playing a handful of matchups on this stage and realizing that, okay, maybe it's not his best stage or one of his best stages. It's still up there, right? But for the most part, it doesn't feel as that Snake has an advantage as much as he had in Brawl on Lilat. If we have any Brawl viewers or Brawl players that are viewing this video. So the main thing here with Lilat is that it's dark, right? So again, hard to see C4, especially when both players are on ground level. It's going to be hard to see that C4, and it's hidden very well. Black background, of course. So another thing too, sides are a little bit closer. F tilt will kill a little bit earlier. Up tilt kills extremely well, just like every other stage, basically. The main thing that I think that could be a little hard for Snake on this stage can be landing in general. Like, I think if you're fighting a character that can control the stage very well, it's going to be a little bit harder for Snake to actually be able to take advantage of everything. Though the stage is small and he can still like control stage with explosives, it feels like the opponent has better movement to just get around everything. Now, that's just my opinion, of course. I also don't like the slants. Like, I enjoy the slants, but I don't enjoy the slants, and let me explain that. I enjoy the slants and the stage in general because down tilt can hit very well. I've hit some people two-framing. I've two-framed some people with down tilt a lot easier on Lilat, or when they're under the stage, down tilt connects sometimes, which I don't really understand why, but it does. And also, the reason I don't like it is because, again, down throw, F tilt, down throw, up tilt, down throw, jab isn't necessarily going to work all the time on your opponent. If they buffer an option or they're mashing an option, you might just miss because the slant gives them kind of like a frame advantage type thing. I'm not too sure the exact specifics, but basically the down throw, up tilt confirms and stuff like that is going to be a lot harder to actually get on these stages because of the slants. And it's the same exact thing for Yoshi's as well. So leading into that segue with Yoshi's, again, Yoshi's has slants. Now, it's not as bad as Lilat, of course, because most of the stage is flat, as you can see here. It's just the very, very sides of it has that slant. So just be sure that, if you get a read when they do a neutral get, you get a grab and they're at like, down throw, F tilt, down throw, up tilt %, you have to be ready that you're more than likely going to lose that. To lose that. Sorry for that beep, by the way. So if anything, with this stage, the reason why Yoshi's is kind of like a stage that I don't necessarily enjoy too much is mainly because the platforms are too high. So up tilt doesn't necessarily work on this stage. C4 could be a lot harder to land on this stage as well because the platforms are too high. So those are just some factors that can just lead into why this stage is a little bit harder to play on with Snake. Blast zones are a lot smaller too. Side, bottom, and top, it's all a lot smaller. So even though Snake is going to kill earlier, he's also going to die earlier, and that can hurt depending on some matchups. Like if you play Bowser on this stage, Bowser's going to kill you a side B on top platform very early. But even though Bowser's heavy and you can kill him a little bit earlier with up tilt, it's still a thing where Bowser just hits very hard. And that's just not Bowser, that's just other characters that have good combos or can kill early or really strong moves in general. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not much of a fan of Yoshi's. Again, opinionated. Other people might say differently. Other people enjoy the stage more than I do. I typically don't like it. If it were me personally, it'd be in D tier. But I put it up here because some Snake players do enjoy it. I know MVD enjoys it, and so on and so forth. So after that, we have Yoshi's Brawl, and again, this stage is just Slant City over here. So again, same exact thing with slants. Down throw F tilt, down throw jab, down throw up tilt is going to be a little bit harder to land because of the slants. The platform is pretty high up, so it's going to be a lot harder to land C4. Even if they're like a tall character, it might just miss because of how the slants work. And if you're in the middle of the stage, a slant dips down at the lowest peak right there, and then the platform above is high up, so it's going to be hard to really be able to platform pressure in general with C4 with up tilt from if you're under, But at the least though, the blast zones are bigger. It's a little bit taller as far as the blast zones go. But the side blast zones, I guess, would kind of be similar to how Yoshi's, Smashville, and Town City are. It's been a while since I've really played on this stage, of course, because it's not really legal in my area, but I know some people still have it. But it's a decent stage for Snake, but I'm just not a fan of how it feels like you can't really pressure too well on this stage, especially with slants, because when you're throwing grenades, they might roll off. They could just fall off the stage. They could just roll off into the middle of the stage. So just something to keep in mind. Otherwise though, I know MVD enjoys this stage as well, so definitely, again, opinionated. Now we have Town and City. Now you can kind of see like a little bit more of like a pattern here. So you can see we have Town, City, Kalos, and FD. And we're going to start with Town and City. Now, Town City is pretty good stage for Snake, but the only reason that I'm not too much of a fan of it is just because when the platforms leave, that's when the stage is not in my favor. And it's might not be in Snake's favor in general, because now you're basically playing on FD. And FD is definitely one of Snake's weaker stages. Now, one thing to mention too, just because I say it's weaker doesn't mean that don't ever go to this stage. These stages, even though they could be considered Snake's worst stages, they still work in matchups, and they still work for other people. Like, you might play someone that hates Kalos as much as you do, but you might do better on Kalos. Or maybe Snake has a better advantage on this stage than other characters. So, you know, that's up to you to keep playing the game and messing around with the stage and finding new things, playing other matchups, and understanding, what stages should I play this character on, and when I shouldn't. That's pretty much it. So with Town and City, going back to that again, when the platforms are there, the stage is definitely strong for Snake. You got a platform in the middle, you got platforms on the sides, so you can platform pressure very, very well. You can control stage well. That's mainly revolving around C4. Outside of that, you do have grenades, of course, so you can light throw a grenade and it'll go on the top platform. It'll just sit there. You can set up edge guarding pretty well with those platforms when they're present. It's just when they're gone, that's when things get a little bit iffy. Now, side blast zones are a little bit shorter, of course, very, very similar to Smashville. So again, you're gonna die off the sides easier or earlier. Again, big examples: Zero Suit Samus and Roy. That's just 2 examples, but obviously there's a lot more examples. Top platforms very high up, so this is gonna be very good against characters that usually kill up. So in this case being said, Snake's up tilt's going to kill later for a lot of the cast, or pretty much the whole cast. So in that case being said, that might be another reason why people don't like Town and City, because up tilt kills later. And in doing so too, like, even though with that being said, like, even though that's like a negative, it's also a positive. So if you keep dying to a move that sends you up, like let's say Rob's up air or Palutena up air, Luigi down B, anything like that in general, you can go to Town City and try to do better as far as like living longer on this stage, because you're going to live a lot longer because that high ceiling. And this stage does help out too at the same time, because it's very big for Snake, so you can camp very easily. The stage is really good against Luigi as an example, because you can kind of back off, camp, and play that camping game. Same thing with the Shotos and even Terry and stuff like that. So again, even though it's down here, it doesn't mean it's a super terrible stage that you don't want to play Snake on at all. It's still good in some extent, matchup wise and experience wise. If you're more experienced on this stage than another opponent, even though it's a bad stage for Snake and it might be in the other character's favor, you could still win based on experience alone. So keep that in mind. And then we have Kalos. Kalos, another stage that is okay, not terrible. Again, same thing, matchup wise, just like I said earlier. It's got those side platforms. You can set up C4. I think C4 on those side platforms are extremely well. You can even put Kalos here, or even higher if you're someone else. But the side platforms helps with edge guarding. And when you start playing with that, you'll understand that a lot more. Town City is kind of the same thing. It's got platforms on the sides, but the only difference is the platforms leave at a certain amount of time. With Kalos, they stay there, so you can continually use that platform as edge guarding C4. If they recover on that, if they like to air dodge onto that platform or use their up B to get on that platform, C4 is there. You can use an up smash if you want to cover that. You can just put a grenade there. Even light throw grenade works, and you can just set up things like that. Now, it's just pretty much in the middle is the hard part, because then again, it plays like FD, and some people don't really enjoy playing FD. So if you don't like FD, you're probably gonna not like Kalos, because again, you can't up smash on Kalos if you want to edge guard, generally, because if you do, the mortar's gonna land on the platform, and if you do it far enough, then it's not gonna work in general, because most characters, when they roll, they don't really get in that up smash range when you do an up smash past the platform, which is only those far roll characters are gonna usually get in that range, like Wii Fit or Joker or someone like that. I think Lucario even has like a far roll like that too. And then the last one is going to be FD. So FD, obviously no platforms at all. So a lot of people just don't enjoy FD. There's no platforms. It takes a long time to get down from disadvantage. If you recover high, there's a lot of air time. So you kind of have to do a lot just to get down. Fast fall air dodge is usually, the key, when playing on this stage, or just, be reversing as much as possible if anything too. But yeah, this stage though is definitely would be considered Snake's weakest stage. But again, like I said before, just because it's considered his weakest stage doesn't mean it's null and void. Like, this stage can still be used depending on matchup, depending on experience, and so on and so forth. So, a lot of people are gonna find this hard, because when they look at the stage, they're like, where do I put the C4? And I think that's a common thing too, that people look at stages. They mainly say, if there's a platform, I can put a C4 there. That means the stage is good. If there's no platforms and I can't use any C4, or I don't know where to put it, then the stage sucks. And that's not really the case. I mean, you just have to understand that based on the stage, platform, no platform, you can still use C4 effectively. It's just how you use it. So you have to play around with it, watch other people, experiment, and then go from there. But generally though, I mean, FD has decent sized blast zones. He can live. He doesn't die as early as he would on the like town and city and stuff like that. But it's still a good stage. It's just there's no platforms. That's like the big thing that people don't necessarily like about the stage. And again, since there's no platforms, it's a long way down from the top. Same thing with Kalos and town and city, but at the very least they do have platforms, so you have room to work with. But that's pretty much it. Legalized Rainbow Cruise, by the way. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed something. Let me know how you guys feel about these stages. Do you think that some stages should be above others, or do you pretty much agree with this stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm definitely open to hearing your guys' suggestions, thoughts, and opinions, and all that. And I do have other social media platforms down below: Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, etc. Feel free to check them out. Again, thank you so much for watching the video. My name is Swiss, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye now.
Never duplicate you, never multiply two. Everyone copy and paste, mask all up in on their face. Disney fantasy MPH, they are cool with their complaints. You feel it in you, then you brush it off you. Ain't significant, but you got something we want, and your whole life is a taunt, cause you will not just comply. Waking up for your day.